Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wal-aqibatu lil-muttaqeen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Ala Rasulullah wa ba'd. Qala Allah Ta'ala fil Qur'an al-Majid. Fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alf shahr. Wa ba'd. My respected brothers and sisters that are watching or listening, mashallah, it gives me great pleasure to be here with community outreach, mashallah, to deliver this program on the best 10 days, best 10 nights, the many scholars have said, of the whole year, subhanallah. The nights where, subhanallah, is better than 83 years. Just think about this. And subhanallah, it's something that we should definitely maximize and work hard to, get the most of, inshallah. Now, I want to do, inshallah, in this short time that I have, to mention some of the virtues of this night. But before that, inshallah, just to speak about Ramadan and how we can maximize and how we should see rewards. Speak about Laylatul Qadr, and also finally some practical things that we should do in this night. As we know, tonight, according to those that follow Moon sighting, is the 21st night. For others, it's the following. But subhanallah, these are the days we need to maximize and we need to step up, because this is how our beloved Prophet ﷺ would be. If you look at his, in the last days, he would spend in itikaf. Aisha radiallahu anha say that he would tighten his belt, meaning he will exert himself. He will work even harder to, subhanallah, to really engage himself in ibadah. And if you look at the seerah, alhamdulillah, Allah gave me tawfiq to go through it in depth for over 2 years. The Prophet would not normally exert himself on a regular basis every night, but he would make an exception for, subhanAllah, these days of Ramadan or these nights. So inshallah, I start by, subhanAllah, just mentioning some virtues of Ramadan. As we know, is a time where the doors of Jannah open, the doors of Jahannam are closed. The shayateen are chained, subhanAllah. So it's easier to do good deeds, subhanAllah. And not only that, rewards are multiplied many folds. And we hear about rewards being multiplied, which I want to speak about. But sometimes, we get very lax. We don't take, this as seriously. We don't exert ourselves like we should. Whereas if someone was to offer you a pay rise, or even say you get £1,000 for just reading, a salah for 2 minutes, or reading Fajr, 5 minutes in the morning, you'll get £1,000, £100,000. I'm gonna guarantee you, most of us will do it. Why? Because we know the value of this notes. But when it comes to hereafter, why is it that we're so lax? I will mention some analogies to comprehend this further in a bit, inshallah. But one thing that allows us to realize the importance of exerting us on gaining good deeds is when we realize that, subhanAllah, the only thing that will benefit us in our graves is a hasanat, the good deeds that we do. SubhanAllah, if you think about it, now with COVID, so many people are dying. May Allah have mercy on them. SubhanAllah, over 30,000 in the UK alone. And subhanAllah, death is all around us. And sometimes, we get heedless. Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah, would say that we are so heedless of our death, whereas our kafan, our shroud is probably in the marketplace right now. Death is a reality on all of us. Allah says in the Quran, kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. Every soul will taste death. If I was to ask you, the listeners now, tell me, if you can just put your hands up, or I don't know if you can put a reaction, that you will definitely live till tomorrow. None of you watching here can say that. A death could even come tonight. None of us know. So why is it that we're so heedless of our end? And my brothers and sisters that are listening, the only thing that will benefit us in our graves is what? Is our good deeds. I don't know if this allows chats, but maybe, feel free to comment, so that way at least it's interactive. SubhanAllah, our good deeds is the only thing that will benefit us. So let's be people who increase in our good deeds. And SubhanAllah, we learn, SubhanAllah, that, with life, Hassan al-Basri, rahimahullah, one of the scholars of the past, he said that every breath that we take, we will not get that back. So that breath that we just took now is that one breath closer to our graves, to our deaths. So subhanAllah, every moment, because we know our death is predestined. So every moment is priceless. We need to value every moment. But more so, my brothers and sisters, these days, when rewards are multiplied better than 1,000 months, inshallah. But subhanAllah, with death, when we do good deeds, what does it lead to? We know it leads to, inshallah, Jannah. And the bad deeds, the sins, leads us to none other than Jahannam, where we learn that the smallest of punishments is what? Is someone, wearing sandals made out of fire, or in narrations they mention like coal under your feet, which is so hot that your brains will be boiling. This is the lowest of punishments. Me and you, we cannot even put a hand over fire for 5 seconds. How will we handle the hellfire? So we should stop from sinning and turn back to Allah and do good deeds. My brothers and sisters, subhanAllah, one of the scholars of the past, he mentioned when it comes to sins, he gave advice, and he was very wise. He says, sin wherever you can, whenever you can. So you may think he's lost the plot. What is he saying? Sin. But he wasn't finished. He says, sin wherever you can, whenever you can, but sin where Allah cannot see you. So is there a place where Allah is not aware? Of course not. From the depths, from anywhere, from the depths of the ocean, the height of the mountain, Allah is always aware. So when we're away from our parents, away from the police, whatever, we're alone in our rooms, know that Allah is still aware. And of course, we're not going to do something bad if our Rasul was to see us or our parents. But why is it that we do it when the creator of our Rasul, our parents, is all aware? So we should have this in our mind. And this is what Ramadan is. Ramadan teaches us taqwa. As we know, the famous hadith, the fasting has been prescribed for you like those before you, so that you can attain taqwa. So you can attain. One of the meanings of taqwa is that we fear Allah. Me and you that are watching, we can go to the kitchen and imagine no one's there, and you're so hungry, if that time is far away, or you're thirsty and you think no one's watching, you could just eat, drink, and then after that time say, oh, I'm so hungry. You can do that, but why is it that you don't do that? Because you know that Allah is watching, and also, of course, we shouldn't lie. This is what Ramadan is teaching us, taqwa. So let us stay away from sins, and the good deeds, inshallah, it leads us to Jannah. We learn in hadith, when no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind can imagine. Just think about the best place in this world. SubhanAllah, I took part in the Hajj ride, and I saw like Switzerland, Italy. It was beautiful. Some parts. But then you think Jannah is even more beautiful than that. Think of the best food. I'm sure people are hungry now. But Jannah is even more, you get even more tastier food. And every time you eat, you get even more tastier. The palaces, the houses, I could go on and on. All your desires will be met. Allah says, many verses in the Quran, how, subhanAllah, you have, lakes and all sorts. All your desires will be met. But this is what good deeds lead to. So isn't it worth an investment? We work so hard for pay rise, for work, for degrees, which we get something in the dunya. But when it comes to something that is eternal, which is everlasting, why is it that we don't, work so hard for? And in the hadith we learn, our beloved Prophet said to a nearest effect, that if the water was in front of us and we put a little finger into the water, that little drop in our finger is like the dunya and all its contents. And whereas the water is remaining is like the hereafter. SubhanAllah, what is this compared to the hereafter? In another narration, if I was to put close to home so you understand, just make a fraction. How long does someone live? I'll let you, I'll let you comment, inshallah. How long, what's the longest life? And the second question is, how long is the hereafter? Yeah, okay, someone said, Musa'ab, mashallah, said 80 years. Okay, just say, argument's sake, let's say, okay, 90, let's say 100 years, maybe 150. Okay, for argument's sake, we say 150. Very rare. If we were to put a fraction, 150 at the top, and then how long is the hereafter? It's eternal, right? And you put eternity at the bottom. What is 150 compared to eternity? It's near enough nothing, near enough zero. But yet we give so much time for the dunya, which is zero compared to the hereafter. And we neglect the hereafter. So we need to be people who work for the hereafter, inshallah. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do dunya, like we should work and earn for our families. We should get good degrees, good studies. And if you do the right intention, that's the beauty. When we study the hadith, innamal a'malu binniyat, with our teachers, and Darul Uloom, our teachers would explain that, subhanAllah, that everything, your 24 hours can be ibadah. How? If you have two things, because of the hadith, action and judgment come to understand intention, that you do things according for the pleasure of Allah, and you do it according to sunnah, as in you don't do things haram. Like for example, you don't eat pork and all this stuff, or haram income and stuff like this. So when we do this, inshallah, we can get rewards. So when we sleep, even with the intention of rejuvenating ourselves for worship Allah, we get reward for this. This is the beauty of our deed. So we should do good in our studies and other things. But I'm saying which our focus should be the hereafter, inshallah. And now, 20 days of Ramadan have gone. And subhanAllah, we may not have made the most of it, but now we have the chance to really exert ourselves. And before I go into the virtues of Laylatul Qadr in the last 10 days, I just wanted to highlight how we can still use Ramadan as a time for change, a time to improve ourselves. Otherwise, we'll be the ones who are losing out. And I mention an analogy. And while I mention this, put on the comments, inshallah, what's the virtue of one night of Laylatul Qadr? I want to just make sure that you're paying attention, inshallah, because it's very hard when you don't have a live audience. So just put in your comment how many years is Laylatul Qadr worth, inshallah. Yeah, mashallah. Okay, 1,000 nights. Shahr means month. There's a clue. Okay, I'll read that later. But I want to mention this analogy. And Ramadan, remember I mentioned shayateen are chained, the doors of Jannah open, the doors of Jahannam are closed, rewards are multiplied, things are made easy for us. So if you were to do, if you were to do a deed, for example, like a salah, you get rewards 70 times or more. In some narrations they say, any other deed, you could just times it by 70. And 70, scholars have said, means many times. So 70 is like a minimum amount. So £1 could be like 70 pounds. And in Ramadan, it will multiply even more. Now, if someone's clever, if you do £1 in Laylatul Qadr, another question, what does that equal to? £1 in Laylatul Qadr. So just to give you so £1 is like, can be times by, Allah says in the Quran, over 700 times when it describes the corn. And then Laylatul Qadr, mashallah, is like, no one's got the right answer yet, by the way, in terms of what is Laylatul Qadr equivalent to. So that, if you then do the maths, then you times it by the years, you can get the equivalent. Yes, definitely, it's 1,000 months, but it's small. But anyway, I'll carry on with this analogy. So Ramadan, things have been made easy for us. Now, imagine this. Imagine there was a poor person, and he's on the streets, and he hasn't eaten, he hasn't cleaned, and he smells, and he's been like this for a long time. And someone goes up to him and gives him the key to a 5-star hotel, the Ritz, wherever it is, the nicest hotel at the time. And said, all your costs are covered. You stay there, eat as you want, you clean, use whatever facilities, and I'll pay for it fully. Yeah. So of course this poor will be really happy. But then imagine he goes to the hotel, he stays there for a month. Come end of the month, he still hasn't cleaned, he hasn't bathed, and he hasn't even eaten properly. What would you say to this poor person? Let me see on the comment. What would you say? What a fool, isn't it? What a fool. Why? Because things were made easy for him, yet he did not take advantage. Similarly, my brothers and sisters, in Ramadan, things have been made easy for us to become better Muslims, to change, to do ibadah, because rewards are multiplied, shayateen are chained. But yet, if we come at the end of Ramadan and still the same as we were before Ramadan, then we will be like this poor person. So what we need to do is use Ramadan to change. And another hadith, beloved Prophet ﷺ said that, the famous hadith when he went on the mimbar and said, Ameen 3 times. One of the times he said, Ameen was, cursed be on the person who goes through Ramadan and he does not attain the forgiveness of Allah. And this is the same merciful Prophet. So when you study the Seerah, ﷺ, in Taif, when he was attacked, when he was stoned, and he was given the offer to crush the people, he said, no, maybe their forefathers or people after them will be Muslims. So he had mercy. This is the merciful Prophet. When Fatul Makkah, he forgave all his old enemies. But he said, Ameen to this dua. So this shows how serious it is. Why is it serious? Because it's so easy to attain the forgiveness of Allah. Allah's mercy descends. So if we're not making tawbah, maybe we're not praying 5 times a day. Maybe we're not respecting our parents. Maybe we're in bad company. Or, maybe watching Netflix films that we shouldn't be watching. Better, what you're doing. Use this time to change. Do tawbah. Ask Allah for forgiveness. And amongst the condition of forgiveness is that we don't go back to it. We're sincere and we have that regret. If it involves others, Imam Nawawi rahimahullah adds that we should get that person's forgiveness. So if you backbite, if you stolen from someone, you need to get that the huququl ibad, the person's forgiveness as well. So make sure you meet these 4 kinds. But first thing is sincere intention and forgiveness. And inshallah, I will speak about dua later on. But these are the times that we should do. And let us use Ramadan to improve ourselves. And now, the best 10 days, best 10 nights of the year, scholars have said, majority of scholars, that these nights are better than even the days of Dhul Hijjah, the days of Hajj. Subhanallah. Why? Inna anzalnahu fi Laylatul Qadr. Because Allah says, this is the night when the Quran was revealed. Subhanallah. And we know the power of the Quran. You know, inshallah, I'll speak about the Quran later. But the Quran, when the month it was really made Ramadan the best of month. It was revealed to the Prophet, and made the Prophet the best of prophets. It was revealed by Angel Jibreel, it made Jibreel the best of angels. And it was revealed on his night, he made it the best of nights. So imagine for me and you who becomes close to Quran, who memorize the Quran, inshallah, we'll become like the best of people, inshallah. If there's any other questions, if I have time at the end, I'll answer, inshallah. So if there's anything you don't understand, you could put it on the chat, inshallah. I'm still waiting for the right answer, by the way. Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alfi shahr. That's a clue. Laylatul Qadr is better than 1,000 months, inshallah. So anyway, so this is the time where we need to really exert ourselves. And we'll see, this is how Prophet would do what we do. And now, to speak about the virtue of Laylatul Qadr, I'll give you the answer now, inshallah. Laylatul Qadr, as I said at the beginning of my little talk, Laylatul Qadr is better than 1,000 months. If you do the maths, 1,000 months is equivalent to 83 years. People put 83 months, 1,000 nights. 83 years, you can't even imagine. People don't even live this long. Prophet, you know, we were taught they were given this mercy because other ummahs before us, they used to have longer lives, and they could, so we can match and compare to them. So subhanallah, 83 years of doing ibadah. In fact, there was someone who done research, and this was, I believe, on if the night was 8.5 hours, I believe it's less now, from 9 till around 3ish. So you know, it's less hours. But imagine there's an 8.5 hours night, and one person, he done the research, and take notes of these and think about every moment. And because I urge you not to waste any moment. Prophet would exert himself. So he said one night is equivalent to 83 years. Then he went on, how many is an hour, how much is a minute, how much is a second. And he did the maths. If it was 8.5 hours, 1 hour will be like 9.8 years. So nearly 10 years for just 1 hour. Then how long would a minute be? A minute is like 68 days. That's like 60 days, subhanAllah. Just 1 minute. You know, we just spoke for, you know, subhanAllah, maybe 20 minutes. So that's like 20 times 60 days, you know, just that after Maghrib, inshallah, this is when this will start, if it's the 21st night for you tonight, or, you know, or tomorrow. And 1 second, what is 1 second? Even 1 second, subhanAllah, is like 23 hours. It's like a whole day. So my brother and sister are watching this. Don't waste any moment. Use every second. Exert yourselves and make it, you know, such that you show to Allah that you are becoming better Muslims, and you are, you know, preparing for your akhirah, preparing for your death. But these are the only things that will benefit. And subhanAllah, sadly I mentioned these things, but why is it that we're so lax? You know, if I was to tell you, you'll get £100,000 if you pray Fajr, you know, on this time, or even if you read this much, 20 minutes of Quran, I'll give you £100,000. I guarantee you, everyone that is listening here will exert yourselves, because, you know, you earn 25,000, you know, 4 hours or 5 hours of effort. Why? Because we know the value of the notes of the dunya. But when it comes to hereafter, why is it so we're heedless? Like, I'll give you an analogy. Imagine you are in a bank. I'm right next to Canary Wharf. It's full of banks. And the manager, he says to you, go in the bank, you can go in the safe, and all the gold, £50 notes, whatever is there for you, you got 1 hour, just 1 hour, and take what you want, no problem. Now you tell me in the comments, in that 1 hour, what would you do? Would you go in there and be busy on YouTube or Netflix or WhatsApp, you know, and, you know, let the time pass? What would you do in that 1 hour? Is anyone still with me? I'm not getting any comments. SubhanAllah. You know, imagine that. This is how Ramadan is. This 1 month, this time is limited. Already, subhanAllah, 20 years gone so quick. And, you know, these 10 days, you know, 10 days, these nights will go very quick. As soon as we know it, Ramadan is over. Okay, Someone said, Shirazul Islam said, mashallah, we'll take everything. Mashallah. We don't waste time, isn't it? Mus'ab said, can you please repeat your question? Okay. Basically, imagine you're in a safe and there's a lot of money, all the gold, and you got 1 hour to take whatever you want. What would you do in that 1 hour? That's my question, inshallah. So my point I'm trying to highlight is we're not going to be on social media. We'll take everything here, mashallah. Musab said, Hadi. So, okay, not want to say what you're going to do with the money, but what you do, you'll take all the money. Similarly, we know the value because we know that this will help us to buy houses, and as someone mentioned, mashallah, you can donate to the poor. That's right, you can do other things, but we know the value of it. But when it comes to hereafter, when we're taught the rewards are multiplied, just imagine this: if you give £1 in these days, times it by, if you do the maths, times it by 1,000 months, just as a minimum, it'll be £30,000 because 1 month has roughly 30 days, right? But then when we learn that when you give sadaqah, Allah multiplies by 700 or so because of the corn dimensions. So that works out to be over £21 million for just giving £1. SubhanAllah, Allah's mercy is beyond our understanding. And SubhanAllah, any other deed that we do, when we pray, when we read Quran, is multiplied. To read one verse of Quran is what? 10 hasanat. And the Prophet said, I don't mean alif lam mim is a letter. Rather, alif is a letter, lam is a letter, mim is a letter. And this is 30 rewards. And none of us, we know the meaning of this, but yet we still get the rewards. And Ramadan is multiplied even more. Imagine times that are 83 years of ibadah. So you have to understand it. The scholars have said, to do any deed is like doing it for 1,000 months, whatever ibadah. So let us not, waste time. So we got this limited time. And subhanAllah, is better than 1,000 months. Then also, when is Laylatul Qadr? When is it? Because we want to make the most of it, right? We learn that subhanAllah, Laylatul Qadr, this is when the Quran was revealed, but because of a dispute that took place between someone, Prophet forgot the actual date. Again, I don't want to go deep into it, but the importance of unity and other things. But the point I'm trying to say is that it could be any of the odd nights, according to hadith, but also some of the scholars said that it could be any of the 10 nights. So it could be even 22nd or 24, but most probably the odd nights. Most people only focus on 27th. It can be, but it's not guaranteed. If something has over 83 years of reward, is it worth that risk? I mean, let me see your comments. Is it worth sleeping on the 21st night, 25th night, maybe thinking it's on the 27th? And there's 1 in 5 chance if it's the odd nights that you lose out. No, yeah, that's right, Rihanna, Yusuf. It's not worth it. That's why we should exert ourselves, isn't it, every night, so that we guarantee this. And subhanAllah, I want to speak about how the Prophet ﷺ will spend his Laylatul Qadr, and we should try to emanate and be like the Prophet ﷺ, because he was the best of examples. SubhanAllah, in everything, from a father, from a leader, in his ibadah. Now, how did the Prophet ﷺ react? The Prophet ﷺ would treat the last 10 days, 10 nights as a point of emergency. He, Rasulullah ﷺ, when you study his life, he was to be so busy running. He was the Amir. He was, he had his wives, he had his family, he had many responsibilities. But yet, for him to catch Laylatul Qadr, he will put everything aside, and subhanAllah, he will go in i'tikaf. SubhanAllah, i'tikaf meaning he will seclude himself in the masjid. Similar to what we're kind of doing now, is secluding ourselves in the houses. But of course, there will be in the masjid, in the house of Allah, and the full focus will be on ibadah. In Seerah, we learned that there were only 3 times Rasulullah was not able to do i'tikaf, but every other year he did it. Shows the importance of it. And the last year he did it for 20 days. And subhanAllah, it just shows that Prophet did not want to miss. And in narration, Aisha radiallahu anha mentioned that Prophet would do 3 key things. Number 1, he would tighten his belt, meaning, he'll buckle down, he will exert himself. He will actually spend less time with his wives, and he will push himself. It's like give it your all. And one scholar, Ibn Jawzi rahimahullah, he mentions, imagine this, don't let the racehorse be more clever than you. Because what does a racehorse do? When he sees the finish line, imagine the horse is here, and he started, and on the finish line, he pushes himself to get to the end, isn't it? Even when you take part in races, I'm sure some of you have raced. When you come into the end, you push yourself so you get the best time possible and try to win. So he said, don't let the horse be clever than you. So the finish line is coming. Maybe in the first 20 days, we were not able to make the most of, so maybe we're not reading enough Quran, we got lazy, especially in these 10 days in the middle, there's normally a dip. But this is your chance to make up for that, because these are the best times. And we should really exert and, push ourselves. And this is how Rasulullah says. The second thing, and Aisha mentioned the hadith, there's 3 things. Second thing would be that, subhanAllah, here Rasulullah would engage in ibadah all night. SubhanAllah, just imagine. All night he'll be exerting. And Aisha mentioned that other parts of the year, he would not exert himself all night regularly. Of course, he would pray tahajjud and stuff, but he would rest as well. In these nights, he will stay up in salah. He would, read extra Quran, dua, and other things, subhanAllah. Because these are the days, subhanAllah, rewards are multiplied and everything. The Prophet would not want to waste these times. So let us be people who, exert ourselves. Yes, some of us may have work or other things. So all in balance. Maybe do as much as you can. As a minimum, pray Isha and Fajr in Jama'at, inshallah. Because there's reward in that. I know we can't go to the masjid, but if you pray with the intention, you can get the reward, praying the whole night. There's other things as well you can do. But inshallah, I'll mention some practical things after, towards the end. And the third thing Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would do is that he will actually wake up his family members, and he will get them to do ibadah. What better way, rather than just gossiping or other things, use the, all as a family, you should do, exert yourself in ibadah, inshallah. And push yourself. So maybe Taraweeh first, I'm sure you'll pray. Straight after Maghrib, iftar, just be ready and don't waste time. Even plan out from now what you're going to do. It's only nearly 6-7 hours maybe. It's not long. Exert yourself. After Fajr you can rest, inshallah, and it's busy. You go your Taraweeh, increase in your Quran, your Qiyam. Try to increase in your private deeds as well, because this is more likely to be accepted. I was speaking to one of my teachers, Sheikh Irfan Sahab, mashallah, for advice on the project I'm working on. And one thing he said, that Sheikh Yusuf Matala, rahimullah, his teacher, would advise him that, whenever something's done publicly, when people can see something, then subhanAllah, don't accept it as something that will accept. You may get praise in the dunya or other thing. But he said, increase in your private deeds. So when you pray Qiyamul Layl, when you pray in your room, this is for Allah alone. No one else knows. And inshallah, these are the deeds that we should increase in. We should increase in our private deeds, especially in these days, Qiyam and other things. And we should have that connection with Allah, learn the meanings and other things. So subhanAllah, Rasulullah will do these things. And we learn that he will exert and he will, really, really push. So let us be people like the Prophet. And these days are so blessed that, Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Qadr, there's a whole surah for it. Tanazzalu malaika, the angels descend until Fajr, subhanAllah. Angel Jibreel, Mufti Taqi rahimahullah mentions that Angel Jibreel and other angels, Hafizullah. These are, blessing, and they do whatever Allah wills. Some wonder the meanings of Qadr is predestined. Some scholars say that these are the days that our destiny is written and other things. Allah, it means power and other things. But Allahu A'lam. And the point is, we should use these days to exert. So now, finally, I'll finish with this, inshallah. Some practical things that you can do. In terms of the seerah and the sunnah, there's not any fixed things, but we should increase in good ibadah. And I'll mention just a few, and I'll end with this, inshallah. So in these days, let's increase in salah, let's increase in Quran, increase in charity, increase in adhkar, and increase in dua, inshallah. So I'll start with salah first. Now Allah says in the Quran over 80 times, aqimus salah, aqimus salah. Salah is something so important. I mean, if you're not doing your 5 fara'id, make the intention now that you'll maintain this. The 5 fara'id is more important than the Taraweeh. But many times we stand for like 1 hour or so for Taraweeh and we forget the other things. So firstly, do your fara'id and then do that. And then if you're doing that, then try to do nawafil, qiyam and stuff like this, witr, extra salah. As well, amongst the last words of our beloved Prophet was as-salah, as-salah. On top of that, subhanAllah, we learned that, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the hadith, he mentioned that amongst the first things we'll be questioned about is what happened to our salah, to renew its effect. And if our salah is sound, everything else will be sound. Now, what would we say to Allah on that day? Some of the excuses me and you come out with now, that I was tired, I was impure, is a common one. I couldn't wake up for this, I'll just do qada. Are we going to say to Allah on that day that we were, these kind of excuses? If it's not a good excuse then, it's not a good excuse now, my brothers and sisters. So always have that in mind for salah. So increase in your salah, increase your connection, and inshallah you'll start loving it and enjoy it, because salah was given to Rasulullah as a gift. Prophet got pleasure out of these things. We learned 3 things that he mentioned: salah, ittar, and spending time with his wives, like his pleasures of his dunya. So subhanAllah, we're saying, it's like it's seen as a burden. So let's increase that connection with Allah. Secondly is Quran. Scholars have said to see how close you are to Allah, see how close you are to Quran. This is the month of Quran. Laylatul Qadr is special because the Quran was revealed on that night. The scholars, the fuqaha, they will stop the teaching of fiqh and other things, and they will focus on Quran, tafsir, and other things. So let us be people who read, increase in reading. If you're struggling, then you get double the reward. Try learn. I'm sure community outreach and others, Mullah Asad, they could arrange like teaching you tajweed and other things. Make the intention to learn, and then if you pass that, then recite regularly. Have at least 30 minutes a day or 15 minutes, set time. And inshallah, in Ramadan, if you can, try finish the whole khatam, increase more in the night, and it's fun. Rewards will be abundant. Imagine times about 83 years. So this is the best of adqar. This is the best, zikr that we can read the Quran. Also the Quran, if you can, try and understand it. We've got books like Mufti Taqi Usmani, or his father Ma'arif al-Quran, rahimahullah, alhamdulillah. We should read these things and try to get a basic understanding at least. Mufti Taqi got quite a basic one which we can understand. Read it and understand it, and then your connection in salah, your khushu will increase when you know what you're reading, inshallah. And so just be connected with Quran, inshallah. And third thing I mentioned, charity. Those that know me, alhamdulillah, I've been involved with charity work for many years now, nearly 15 years or so. And I've traveled the world with different things. And charity is something that, firstly with zakat, is something that is fard. If you have more than £250 roughly, an nisab amount, savings, then know that zakat is fard on you. So you need to give 2.5, just divide your wealth by 40. And that amount is fard on you to give. It doesn't belong to you. If it's in your pocket, it belongs to the poor. So it's very important that you do that and sort these out, and normally have a Ramadan date. But in terms of charity, as I said, £1 is like 21 million. And one of the scholars, Sheikh Salim Durat Hafizullah, he would say that, try to give in every of the last 10 nights, so that way you don't miss Laylatul Qadr, at least £1. And subhanAllah, give whatever you can. There's many community outreach are doing good work in Uganda and other things. We should try to give for these causes, inshallah. And we'll see the sadaqah jariyah hereafter. And reality, from my experience in charity work, we are the real beneficiaries. We are the ones that really benefit. We may be making their dunya, but reality is we are making an akhirah through these efforts. Allah, we learn in hadith, Allah is in the assistance of those so long as they're in the assistance of their brothers. And we all in need of Allah's assistance. Maybe we could ask someone who's senior but to get Allah's assistance is even better, because Allah is Ar-Razaq. Allah is the one who everything happens through. Also show mercy on the creation, and know that the creator of the heavens, Allah will show mercy on you. And we all in need of Allah's mercy. We're probably full of sins, but because of the charity work that we've done, Allah will have mercy on us. And subhanAllah, to bring a smile, we learn the best of things that we could do is to bring happiness. And many of us, we can't do itikaf now. And there's a hadith that is very powerful. Rasulullah would always do itikaf, but he said, to take care of the need of a brother is more beloved to me than itikaf fil masjidi, meaning my masjid, Masjid Nabawi, shahrun, which means a whole month. So imagine, to take care of the need of a brother is more beloved than itikaf, in Masjid Nabawi. So let us be taking care of the needs. And once Ibn Abbas, subhanAllah, he was walking out from the masjid, and as people were shocked, he never leaves itikaf. And then he said, didn't you hear the hadith? Because he was going to take care of the need of a brother. So this is only one off, and he said this is more virtuous than actual itikaf. So don't do this while we're in the UK. All we have to do is move our thumbs, and we can donate. So please do support, inshallah. And I'm just concluding, inshallah. Just last few points. Increasing your adqar. As a minimum, do your morning and evening adqar. This will protect you and other things, inshallah. And especially in this, and I'll finish on this point. Increase in dua. Increase in dua. So inshallah, I'll finish on this. Some people are asking some questions. Increase in dua. We learn in hadith, ad-du'a mukhul ibadah is the essence of ibadah. And I remember I mentioned like one of the meanings of Qadr is that predestination. This is a night where destiny is. There's one of the things that can change destiny, remove calamities. Another thing is dua. This is one thing we learn, and dua is something so important. Subhanallah, we should ask Allah, and when we make dua, we should have intention that inshallah Allah would accept. Allah is as we think of Him. One of the scholars, he said that when you're making dua for rain, imagine you're in a drought, take an umbrella with you. Mean that you should think that Allah would accept. So as soon as you wipe your face, you should think that Allah would accept. Start your dua with salawat, with praising Allah, do istighfar, and remember Allah with His beautiful names, and attribute. And inshallah, sincerely ask. We have so many needs. Ask Allah for all our needs. Make dua for the ummah. One of the scholars, he said that sincere dua from a sincere soul is an army that is never defeated. So make dua for our brothers and sisters in Syria and Africa, wherever they're suffering. And these are times. Make dua for yourself. Ask for Allah for forgiveness. Allah gives you tawfiq and istiqamah, steadfastness and sincerity, inshallah, that you're able to, become better Muslims. You're steadfast. You're able to get the most of the Qadr. And even time before iftar, which is coming, these are times when du'as are accepted. The time just before suhoor ends is also a time where Allah comes down and says, which of my servant wants forgiveness? I'm ready to forgive. And so if it's like Qadr, the angels will be all around you. So increasing these things, inshallah. So I just want to conclude. I know there's a lot to take in, but just as the beginning, I mentioned the importance of making the most of Ramadan. So virtuous. Let's not undervalue the deeds. Rewards are multiplied. So let's value every moment, inshallah, every second. Also, I mentioned about Jannah, Jahannam. Let us be people who work for Akhirah, for Jannah, and prepare for our deaths, the only thing that will benefit us. And also, Laylatul Qadr, let's be like the Rasul says and make the most of it, inshallah. Make the most of, subhanallah, every moment. And exert yourselves, get your family involved, and push yourselves. Maybe we can't do itikaf, but do the same acts that you would normally do at itikaf at home. And like these days where rewards are multiplied, we should stay away from sins, subhanallah, and shaitan's chain, and it's easier to do good deeds. So Allah give us all the tawfiq to take heed. May Allah allow us to make the most of these 10 days and nights, and allow us to be people who are better Muslims, and be people who follow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and take heed. And maybe this could be our last Laylatul Qadr. With all these deaths, we don't know if we're going to enter Ramadan ever again. So see like that as well. So make it the best Ramadan, inshallah, and maximize. So with this, I'll end. I want to conclude by thanking Mullah Asad and community outreach for this opportunity to speak about Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Forgive me for my shortcomings. With this, I'll end. Wa akhiru da'a and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.